All right, welcome back to another Breakout Hackathon workshop. Today we have Nate, Danny, Paul, and Sylvia from Render. They're going to walk us through some use cases and examples of how developers can tap into the distributed network of consumer-grade GPUs. So with that, I'll hand it over to them, and we'll get started.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. And thank you to everyone for being here. My name is Nate, and I work at the Render Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting and growing the Render network. The Render network, started in 2017, is a network of consumer GPUs around the world that lend and get paid for their idle compute in order to help artists produce incredible 3D and visual art. Personally, for the past 4 years, I've been building and investing in the Solana ecosystem. It's been a super exciting journey, but now with AI, crypto, and DeepIn coming together, I've never been more bullish. And I'm incredibly excited about the role the Render network is poised to play. Render is debuting our newly launched compute network, which is purpose-built for the future of distributed compute. And we're actively onboarding nodes and welcoming an amazing wave of builders into the ecosystem. At the Render Foundation, our goal is to support you guys, people who are interested in growing and building on the Render network. We do this by providing grants, helping with connections, and offering general support. One of our key partners is Render Labs, a commercial entity led by Paul and Danny, who are doing super cool work to push the boundaries of what's possible in the network. I'm super pumped to see what you all build. My DMs are always open, and I'm happy to help anyone in any way that I can. And with that, I'll pass it over to Danny to share more about what Render Labs has been working on.
Awesome. Thanks, Nate. So Render Labs, we ideate, incubate, and launch innovative products and businesses specifically optimized for the Render network. We're developing cutting-edge ideas internally and partnering closely with external companies and folks with fantastic ideas seeking to leverage this decentralized GPU computing for AI, rendering, and computationally intensive applications. And our mission is to accelerate the adoption of the Render network and by bridging creativity, technology, and entrepreneurship. We couldn't be more excited to be participating in this hackathon. It's a perfect opportunity to do exactly that. While Paul is introducing himself, I guess I should give a little background. I've been a longtime Web3 and AI hobbyist. As far as I think, but definitely been creating some pretty cool stuff in the ecosystem for a while. I'm going to turn off this blur effect because I think it's taking off part of my face. So I'm going to share my screen as Paul is doing an intro here, and we'll jump in.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Paul. Part of Render Labs here at Danny. And we're building lots of exciting tooling and infrastructure for the use of ML and generative ML on top of Render. It's been doing that for the last few months, but before that, I was at Google as part of the Gemini team there, and was worked on Waymo as part of the perception team there as well, on ML models on the car. And so kick it back over to Danny, and take us through the intro today. But similar to Nate, my DMs are always open. I'm happy to hear from you and help you build on top of the Render network in any way I can.
Great. Okay, so Render network. Here's a kind of a little deeper dive into what Render Labs is up to specifically. Like I mentioned, we are here to help expand and accelerate anything that can work on the Render network, specifically on the AI and compute inference training, etc. Side of things. We are working with and looking for interesting projects to jump in on what we're creating here. Specifically, we've got some very interesting use cases already up and running on our test network, and each of these kind of provides some very interesting use cases for their customers, as well as are great examples of the types of things, types of companies that we can be working with. Think is creating a network, a worldwide network of intelligent agents, and have some very cool use cases, and we'll be releasing that pretty soon. Just wanted to jump into some hackathon ideas, and we're going to open this up pretty quickly here to Q&A, so we can really kind of ideate on what some of these ideas that we're working with, but also, as anytime we're working with folks on these types of programs, it's really cool to see what you guys are all working on as well. So we've got some amazing generative image and video APIs at render.x.io. And so we can work on getting those integrated into your apps, into your ideas, into what you're thinking. These are text to image, text to video, image to video, video to video, and image to video. So all generative models that can help create interesting media for projects. There's hundreds of Hugging Face models that we can integrate and launch on the Render network. So if you are looking to do anything that will that would work within that, that works really well. And then we're always excited about any kind of agents and agentic workflows and processes and ideas that we can use in something like this. I think, let's see if this works. Are you guys seeing me click around?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll just stay right here. Are you able to see the Render Labs slide currently?
Yeah.
Okay. I will just kind of stick with just kind of going through slide by slide and not playing any of our media here. Were you able to see? Are you able to see this now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I'll play this one by just scrubbing along here. Let's see if this works.
Sense of wonder.
Oh.
What if bringing those?
Let's volume. Are you guys able to see this video?
Yep.
Okay.
See
cool.
it and hear it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. If it's I don't mind if you see the rest of the screen. So this is amazing tool created by a company called Wonder Dynamics that is kind of really knocking folks' socks off with their ability to do character replacement and other just amazing VFX via AI, and excited to be working towards building applications that are able to utilize the Render network for offloading processes and things to this level ultimately. Some of the other models that we were chatting about, we've got some of very cool like text to 3D model as well. So a lot of our traditional render users come from the 3D modeling, 3D rendering world. And so a lot of these tools have been really amazing for that community. I don't know what the current audience here is, but this is a lot of the really interesting forward-looking functionality that a lot of our kind of traditional user base has been really excited about. But yeah, for today's discussion, I would love to start to jump in and just start ideating, hear what you guys are thinking of, and let's see what may work. I know we've got 10 days before the deadline here. Is that right?
Yep, submissions are due May 16th. So
Perfect. Yep. Okay. So yeah, nine days. Let's jump in. Like we mentioned, our DMs are all open. Happy to answer any questions directly as they come up for any folks looking for help on what they're working on or how we can integrate.
Danny, would you mind walking us through, maybe at a high level overview, how the team here has worked with some of those partners listed on, I think it was maybe your third slide, to give the audience a sense for how to work with us?
Yeah, and Paul, please jump in here as well on kind of deeper specifics. High level, we are working with each of these fairly hand in hand on getting their processes and systems up and running. So we're providing access to the network, working with credentialing and API access for getting and launching their instances that they are looking to get running on the network. Paul, do you want to kind of speak generally to the specifics on how that works?
Yeah, if you have a compute load like one of these, individuals like Jimber or something that Dan was just talking about, the way that that's run on the render GPU network is through a Docker container, and so we've been working with our partners here that we mentioned on getting their Docker container up and running successfully on the network, making sure they're getting allocated appropriate GPUs, and really making sure the process goes smoothly. And so for anyone that has GPU-specific workloads, we're happy to partner and help that process work well. But largely think of it as like all you need is a Docker image, and then we can get that going on the render network. So.
Cool. Looks like we've got a question here from John. I'll read it, and then probably Paul, good one to answer this one. So John G is asking, what's the technology behind how you distribute and deal with I believe recombining these large renders, specifically the technology and techniques?
Yeah, the technology and techniques for the large render is usually handled by the client application. So, if you're using Blender, if you're using some other end client to generate the video, often the way that render is used through those is by being the layer that does the end rendering, where the client application is doing the reassembly. And so the render network is really the way to access the distributed compute power, not a client level application that handles that reassembly like you're asking about there. But kind of the answer is kind of dependent on the exact application and workload. But for just rendering something like video, it's often on the client that's using that. So thank you.
Would you guys say that there is a common use case that is best suited for this particular approach to computing using a distributed compute network? Obviously, rendering is a big one, but are there ones that are very common or really good target use cases for the AI compute network capabilities?
Yeah, and Paul, again, jump in with comments on this as well, but currently the network works really well for compute loads that are not necessarily time sensitive. So things that can be offloaded and done, kind of offline. So things that are uh, taking a day's worth of I don't know, call data, for example, and pulling out all of the reporting, all of the analytics, all of the how people are feeling, what questions of the day were, all of the kind of inference and running that through, LLM of your choice to pull that kind of information out, things that don't necessarily have to have real-time results. That works really well for this network.
Yeah, anything where the advantage of scale and cost is like a big aspect. And so, if you want to generate, a bunch of different options on your video, if you want to generate video at very, very high quality, like, the Sphere in Las Vegas, which has a 16 by 16K screen in it, uses the render network because, they're looking for very large scale in their rendering processes, but don't necessarily need that video in the next 2 minutes, right? And they can wait and get that produced all before a show. And so anything that fits those two criteria would be a great partner and great job to run on the render network. Thanks.
And so, Danny and Paul, one use case that I see come up a lot out in the AI compute world and decentralized distributed compute world is inferencing. Can you talk about, similarly, how you were just talking, Paul, about rendering graphics that don't need to be done in the next 2 minutes, how inferencing might be a good use case for this particular approach?
Sure. Yeah. So inferencing can take lots of different kind of priorities, right? And so often, if you're just using something like ChatGPT, where it's a chat session, you want really fast response, and it may not be the best workload for the render network. But if you have like a long-running agent that's say searching for a flight for you and setting up a trip, that you may kick off that agent and let it run for a few hours before it gets back to you with the results. So that's a perfect workload for the render network, and that the millisecond or second sensitivity of those results is not super high. What you really care about is is the agent looking at all the options, or is the agent really getting you the best result? And that's a great workload for the render network. Another workload that's great on inferencing is evaluating models, evaluating setups. In that you may have a huge amount of inference that needs to be done to do that evaluation, but it's not millisecond critical that you get those results back. That eval may run overnight or even for days, and so certainly that sort of AI inference workload is very cost sensitive too, and so perfect job for the render network. Nate, do you have a thought on the Solana integration? Nate's our Solana expert, and so definitely give some good answers here potentially.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, we saw a lot of interesting agents pop up in the last 6 months who are interacting on Solana. Some of them had personalities. You could do some visual, really cool visual agents. Exactly what you do on chain, I'm not sure, but I'd love to see some more experiments there. What do you think, Paul? Any Solana integrations that you would want to see people try out?
Oh man, there's just so much creativity now on the network on Solana, and so yeah, I mean, as you think about like LM agents and tokens like Solana interacting, you think about, like, I was just giving the example of an agent that may run for a few hours while booking a trip, And there's certainly some like price trade-off between the cost of the trip, but also how long your agent searches for a solution or for an answer to a trip. And so you may actually like incorporate the price of the token that Solana and is being used along with the agent. And so the interaction between the token price and how long an ML agent works or how much work it does is pretty interesting to me. But certainly you could think about the distributed nature, the permissionless nature. There's so many angles on what Solana brings that it's quite a fertile area to experiment, and certainly something we'd love to see out of this hackathon is a lot of experimentation on like what new things does that combination unlock. So thank you.
Yeah, and we're starting to see some really interesting private data come on chain with data DAOs and encrypted data, like with Archeum coming up, and having some of that run on a distributed network like Render can make a lot of sense. So like you said, I think there's a lot of experimentation and creativity that needs to happen to run a bunch of experiments and see what works. Cool. Yeah. If there's no more questions, I guess we can begin to wrap this up. I'll put my Twitter handle in the chat. If anyone wants to DM me, has questions about the Render Foundation or Render Network, please don't hesitate to reach out. Awesome.
Yeah.
All set, Danny and Paul?
Yeah, thanks again. And definitely reach out anybody who is looking to jump in here. Really excited to work on anything with you guys, and got some fantastic overall prizes and prize money for all this stuff. So let's figure out how to get it to you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Yeah, happy to engage on Twitter as well. And thanks Danny and Nate, Sylvia, everyone. Happy to keep the conversation going.
All right. Well, thanks so much for taking your time out today and for the support of the hackathon. Like you, I'm really curious to see what gets built out of this. So again, thanks very much. And if you have any questions for everybody, just reach out to them on Twitter.